It was a big day at GovState University as the school officially welcomed President Dr. Joyce Ester. GovState held an investiture ceremony to recognize her role as the university's 7th president. During the ceremony, Dr. Ester received the Presidential Medallion, a symbol passed down to each president in the university's history. The Center for Performing Arts was filled with students, faculty, staff, and community members attending the event. With the medallion presented and the ceremony complete, President Ester now continues her work guiding the future of GovState University. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
On Tuesday, November 11th, GovState University hosted a poetry reading to celebrate the inauguration of their 7th president, Dr. Joyce Ester. Hosted on campus in Sherman Hall, the Southland Stanzas event ran from 1 to 2 p.m. and involved a wide variety of GovState students and faculty. The poetry featured at the reading ranged from classic poems by world-renowned authors to original pieces written and performed for the event by community members. Dean of the College of Arts, Jason Zingsheim, opened the event with a short address before students, professors, and others took to the stage to begin their readings proper. The overall theme of the event was homecoming, as Esther is an Illinois native. The first poem, appropriately enough, was Chicago by Carl Sandburg, which was performed by Dr. Catherine Carl.
I turn once more to those who sneer at this my city, and I give them back the sneer, and I say to them, come and show me another city with lifted head, singing so proud to be alive and coarse and strong and cunning, flinging magnetic curses among the toil of piling job on job. Here is a tall, bold slugger set vivid against the little soft cities.
Other famous poets recited that afternoon include Maya Angelou, Patricia Smith, and Joy Harjo. Original pieces were also written and read by Adrian Easterling, Victoria Gomez, and Dean Jan Figa. The reading ended with President Ester herself reciting a poem of her own. Southland Stanzas was a wonderfully warm retreat for a cold Veterans Day, allowing the community to come together to show off their literary skills while also welcoming the new president over the course of a profound, cozy afternoon. The reading was part of a larger inauguration event taking place over the course of the week, concluding with Esther's investiture on November 14th. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
At GovState University today, students and staff gathered through heavy snowfall for a moment many called serendipitous because snow days were Sandy's favorite. Sandy served as the university's therapy dog for 8 years, comforting the campus through stress, grief, and personal struggles.
There was a need at GovState because there were people hurting. Didn't matter if they were students, faculty, staff, or even visitors to the university.
Her journey at GovState started during a finals week visit. The impact she made that day was so powerful, she was invited back every week.
During this winter break, I brought Sandy into the library and everything else, and just as the building is empty, was able to bring her in. And they're like, well, can you bring her more often? I'm like, well, how often? He goes, well, how often you want? I'm like, I can bring her every week. And they're like, sure.
Today's memorial centered around a new tree donated by Dr. Angela Thompson. Sandy's ashes were spread at the tree's base, and staff say they look forward to watching it grow.
You can see it from the windows on the second floor in the science wing. You can see that tree. We're going to watch it grow and visit her whenever we need to.
At the memorial, Steve wore what he said was Sandy's favorite jacket, still covered in her hair.
We stopped at a store, and the cashier looks at me and goes, oh, you have a dog? Because I'm like, oh, yeah, crap. I forget to take her. I'm like, no, I had one. She passed. But I'm like, I'm not going to take it to get dry cleaned. It's going to have to fall off over time.
For GovState News, I'm Ro Curtis.
Hi, I'm Mia Romo, and I'm here at Thornton Factional North High School, where students will be performing their annual fall musical for their community. The award-winning drama club performed the musical Fame for their fall production this year. Based in the 1980s, the musical follows a group of students as they complete their degree at New York's High School for Performing Arts, where they explore their identities, struggles, and dreams as the last graduating class for their institution. Led by its new director, William Spakowski, the show featured an interactive set, diverse cast, and even live music to deliver an impactful show for its local community. As the show wrapped their final performance, the team celebrated their graduating seniors whilst also looking forward to their next upcoming project this spring.
What an amazing performance put on by students. I'm Mia Romo reporting for Jaguar News at Noon. I'm standing outside of Trinity Christian College, where after decades of operation, the campus is preparing to close its doors. The announcement came as a surprise to both students and surrounding communities, leaving everyone wondering, what's next?
It was more so like gonna live? Where's everyone gonna live? It's just more stuff like that.
A month after past President Aaron Cooker resigned in September, Trinity revealed that financial challenges have made it impossible to continue, forcing the tough decision to shut down.
Because I live in one of the dorm buildings here, and one of those people that I kind of oversees the building itself, she got fired. And so that's when I found out, cause something feels off. I didn't know what it was, but I felt something.
Trinity has secured teach-out agreements with several other institutions, including St. Xavier University, Olivet Nazarene University, and Calvin University. These agreements will allow students to transfer and complete their degrees without having to go through the traditional acceptance process. A dedicated transfer guide will also be available to students to help them every step of the way. For GovState News, I'm Ro Curtis.
On November 4th, elections were held across the United States for various key positions and legislation, including governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, and the highly publicized New York City mayoral election, among others. Across the country, Democrats won major victories, some coming as a surprise, as voters show they are turning sour against Republicans and the current administration. Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani won the mayoral race in New York City, beating former Mayor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent, for a second time after beating him in the primary earlier this year. Mamdani ran on a campaign of affordability and compassion, with campaign promises including expansions to public transit and childcare, while also being a vocal ally of the LGBTQ community and opposing Israel's genocide in Gaza. Despite being the Democratic nominee and clearly popular amongst voters, as the polls show, Mamdani went into the election without endorsements from key members of the Democratic Party, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
The conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
In Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger won the governorship, beating out her opponent Winsome Earl Sears. Likewise, in New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill beat Jack Ciattarelli at the polls, becoming the state's governor-elect.
Here in New Jersey, we know that this nation has not ever been, nor will it ever be, ruled by kings. We take oaths to a constitution, not a king. We've chosen liberty, the very foundation of democracy, and we've chosen prosperity necessary to create opportunity for all.
On the other coast of the country, California's Proposition 50, also known as the Election Rigging Response Act, passed with a vote of over 64%. The proposition arose as a response to Republicans in other states attempting to redraw district lines, and now that Prop 50 has passed, will allow Californian legislatures to do the same thing in their state. While 2025 wasn't a major election year or midterm, the elections held this November do provide insight on how Americans across the nation are feeling after 9 months of President Trump's second term. According to the polls, citizens are souring even more on the president, and from the results, appear to be opposing him at a local and national level.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
Major retailers are launching budget-friendly Thanksgiving meal bundles ahead of the holiday. Amazon is offering a $25 package through its fresh service that feeds 5 people, complete with turkey, sides, and dessert. Walmart and Target are also rolling out discounted meal kits, with Walmart's basket feeding about 10 and Target offering a bundle for under $20 that serves 4. The deals run through Thanksgiving Day as families look for cheaper options amid higher grocery prices, and retailers compete to deliver convenience and savings. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
On October 1st, the longest federal government shutdown in United States history began. 43 days later, on November 12th, a funding bill was passed into law that will reopen the government until January 30th, 2026. The previous longest shutdown, which occurred during Trump's first term in 2018, lasted 34 days. While the government shutdown occurred for many reasons, the main reason Democrats refused to vote for the bill initially was due to a lack of funding for the Affordable Care Act and healthcare extensions. Without those extensions, millions of Americans' healthcare costs will skyrocket in 2026. 6 Democrats caved and voted with Republicans in favor of funding the bill, including Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, even without the healthcare extensions. This decision will condemn millions to more expensive healthcare premiums and condemn those who can't afford to pay to go without coverage. After reopening, federal funding for important services resumed, such as food assistance, and federal employees began to return to work and began receiving pay again. With the government open, Arizona Representative Adelita Grijalva was able to be sworn in, which led to a vote passing that would release files to the public regarding the Epstein case. In the end, while the shutdown was the fault of the Republican majority, the Democrats ended up facing a majority of the backlash without even achieving the one concession they were fighting for. Republicans didn't walk away unscathed, though, as President Trump's approval rating following the shutdown dropped to a new low for his second term, sitting at only 36%, a stark contrast to a 60% disapproval rate, according to Gallup polls. As the funding bill only extends until January 30th, the threat of another shutdown is not far off. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
Thousands of households across Illinois rely on SNAP benefits to put food on the table, but this month, their benefits faced uncertainty.
The state says that while full November benefits were delayed due to the federal government shutdown, remaining balances are expected to be issued later on this month with an allotment expectation date of November 20th for full benefits. That means there is a focus on restoration of the benefits that were held up rather than early distribution.
Trying to do my best to shield my daughter from how concerned I am, but at the same time, she is seeing the difference.
Officials with the Illinois Department of Human Services are urging all eligible recipients to check their accounts and make sure they receive their full benefits by November 20th. They also remind people to watch for any additional notifications in case of further processing delays. If you haven't already, now is a great time to check in with your caseworker or the IDHS website to track your status. For GovState News, I'm Ro Curtis.
Health insurance premiums are surging nationwide after federal subsidies that once helped millions afford coverage expired. Many families are now seeing monthly costs rise by hundreds of dollars, forcing some to reconsider their plans or go without insurance. The subsidies created during the pandemic had kept premiums low for middle and lower income households. Without them, insurers cite rising medical costs and inflation as key factors behind the spike. Experts warn the rollback could leave more Americans uninsured as Congress debates whether to bring the aid back. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released to the public 3 different emails from convicted sex trafficker and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein regarding President Trump on November 12th. Later that same Wednesday, Republicans on the committee also released an additional 20,000 documents, including more emails from Epstein and his court cases. Across all those documents, over 1,000 mentions of the current president can be found. One of the emails released was sent from Epstein to fellow sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, his associate and literal partner in crime, who is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence, though she was moved to a minimum security prison earlier this year, and according to a whistleblower, she has been receiving preferential treatment, which the White House denied back in August. The email between Maxwell and Epstein claims that Trump spent hours at one of Epstein's properties with one of the alleged sex trafficking victims. Another email, from Epstein to author Michael Wolff, has Epstein claiming that, quote, of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop, end quote, the he being President Trump. White House officials denied any link between Epstein and Trump, claiming the released emails were nothing more than a smear campaign, a favorite defense of the Trump administration. A week following the release of the emails, the Senate passed a bill unanimously that would force the release of Epstein's case files. The bill was sent to the president's desk, who signed it, though Trump does not need congressional approval to release the files and could have done it on his own at any time. Between the newest set of email reveals and the publication of Epstein's birthday book earlier this year, which included a lewd letter from Trump to Epstein, which the president denies is his, the close ties of the two men cannot be more clear. Regardless of how their relationship ended, Trump and Epstein at one point were more than acquaintances despite what Trump and his administration might claim. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
57-year-old Trent Schneider of Winthrop Harbor is now in custody after being accused of threatening to kill President Donald Trump. He was arrested Monday morning after a viewer in Florida reported one of his Instagram posts to law enforcement. Schneider recorded himself making violent statements.
I know where I can get a lot of guns, and I am going to take care of business myself.
He reposted the video several times and added captions calling for Trump's execution. A judge ordered him held until a detention hearing on Thursday.
OpenAI and Sam Altman, the company and CEO behind ChatGPT and one of the most influential companies in the field of AI, is currently facing multiple lawsuits after users committed suicide following heavy use of ChatGPT's AI chatbot. The first lawsuit of this nature was filed in August, and since then, 6 more suits have been filed in California of a similar nature, with the most recent being filed on November 6th. Other AI companies are also facing similar lawsuits, including Charter Technologies, after a 14-year-old boy killed himself after discussing suicide with one of the company's chatbots. Across all 7 lawsuits, OpenAI is being accused of assisted suicide, wrongful death, involuntary manslaughter, product liability, and neglect. The family members suing and lawyers representing the families allege similarities between all of these suicides, the most consistent similarity being that the chatbot seemingly encouraged and glorified suicide to these users, validating suicidal tendencies and answering questions about various methods of suicide, and in at least one case, even offering to draft a suicide note and upgrade a user's suicide plan. Some of the families also noticed that the victims became more isolated after using the AI service, and some even showed signs of addiction to the chatbot. All 7 of the victims were using ChatGPT-40, which rolled out to users in May of 2024. Prior to the update, users that discussed certain topics, such as suicide, would be met with a refusal response, such as, "I can't answer that." Following the update, though, the chatbot no longer shied away from discussing such topics, and was programmed to respond in an empathetic manner instead of ending the conversation with users. As reported by The Guardian, according to the family of Adam Rain, the 16-year-old who killed himself in April after interfacing with ChatGPT, and sparking the first lawsuit against OpenAI and Altman back in August, Rain's use of ChatGPT increased exponentially in the months before his suicide, going from a few chats per day to hundreds. In August, OpenAI released ChatGPT-5, which was programmed to be less sycophantic and personal, as well as supposedly having more guardrails and safety protocols in place, but after the company received backlash, made ChatGPT-40 accessible to users again. In October, Altman posted to social media that they would roll out another change to ChatGPT-5 to make it more personable, also in response to this feedback, and would also allow the AI platform to generate erotic content. In response to this, the Rain family accused the company and Altman in their lawsuit of prioritizing user engagement even at the cost of user safety. On November 25th, in court filings regarding the suit, OpenAI claimed that Rain's suicide was due to personal misuse of the product and no fault of ChatGPT's or the company itself. If you or someone you know is dealing with suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation, you can reach the Suicide and Crisis Hotline by calling or texting 988. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
A new humanoid robot designed for home use is now on sale for $20,000. Built by a California startup, the robot can cook, clean, and respond to voice commands using advanced AI. Developers call it a major step towards bringing robotics into everyday life, with some predicting robots could become as common as smartphones in the next decade. Experts say it's helpful for simple chores but still limited, and the high price may keep it out of most homes for now. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
On Tuesday, November 4th, a UPS airplane suddenly crashed shortly after taking off from the Muhammad Ali International Airport in Louisville, Kentucky. 14 people were killed in the resulting collision, including the 3-person flight crew of UPS Flight 2976. As the MD-11F aircraft was leaving the runway during takeoff, the left engine separated from its respective wing. The plane was briefly airborne, but shortly after leaving the ground, the plane plummeted, crashing into a nearby petroleum recycling business and a UPS warehouse, leaving a half-mile-long trail of debris. Following the crash, all flights into and out of the Louisville airport were suspended, though operations resumed as normal later in the week. The cause of the crash, from the initial investigation, appears to be due to a hardware fault that left the engine unsecure. Stress fractures and cracks were found on fittings that connected the engine to the wing and likely contributed to the detachment. The 34-year-old plane was scheduled to be phased out of the fleet at some point in the future, but was still being used regularly in the meantime. All other MD-11 and MD-11 crafts belonging to UPS are grounded until they complete an inspection. The crash occurred during the middle of the longest government shutdown in the United States history, at a time when airports and the aviation industry are already feeling the stress of limited funding on top of an industry-wide staff shortage. Though the cause of the crash from initial reports indicate a hardware failure, the full investigation is still ongoing and will take months to complete. For GovState News, this is Graham Taylor.
Several deaths and numerous illnesses have been linked to a growing listeria outbreak tied to contaminated food products. Health officials say the number of cases is rising as investigators work to trace the exact source of the contamination. They're urging consumers to review current recall lists and throw away any affected items immediately. Symptoms of listeria infection can be severe, especially for older adults, pregnant women, and those with weakened immune systems. Officials say the investigation is ongoing and more recalls may be issued in the coming days. Viewers are encouraged to stay updated through local health department alerts. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News. Hurricane Melissa has caused massive destruction across the Caribbean, hitting Jamaica the hardest. The storm made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane with winds near 185 miles per hour, tearing apart homes, flooding roads, and knocking out power to most of the island. In the southwest, entire neighborhoods were destroyed, and thousands remain without electricity, water, or communication. Officials have declared a national disaster and are urging residents to stay in shelters as recovery teams work to reach isolated areas. Melissa later moved over Cuba as a Category 3 storm, bringing heavy rain, storm surge, and widespread outages. Experts link its rapid strengthening to unusually warm ocean waters, raising new concerns about climate change as damage estimates reach into the billions. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.
Twice the number of tributes. Twice the glory. It's time for the second quarter quell.
Welcome to Hollywood Buzz, your source for the latest news in the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Graham Taylor, and today we'll be looking at upcoming releases, celebrity news, and the latest from Hollywood. Let's get started. The latest installment of the Hunger Games series, The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping, is being adapted into a movie like the 4 books that preceded it. Set before the initial trilogy, the prequel is set to release in theaters next November. Wicked: For Good, the part 2 of last year's theatrical adaptation of the Broadway play Wicked, released on November 17th. The follow-up became the second biggest opening at the box office in 2025. Bad Bunny, the king of Latin trap, walked away with 5 Grammys from the 2025 Latin Grammy Awards. The Puerto Rican singer and rapper is set to headline the halftime show at the upcoming Super Bowl 60 on February 8, 2026. The 59th Country Music Awards were held on November 19th. Lainey Wilson hosted and swept the awards, winning Entertainer of the Year and Album of the Year, among others.
And the CMA Award for Entertainer of the Year goes to Lainey Wilson.
The late Chadwick Boseman received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He was posthumously awarded the star on November 20th, where his widow Simone Ledward Boseman accepted the honor for him. For GovState News, this has been Graham Taylor with the latest Hollywood buzz.
A first look is out for Michael, the upcoming biopic about music legend Michael Jackson. The film stars his nephew Jafar Jackson, who's gaining attention for his striking resemblance to the pop icon. Directed by Antoine Fuqua and produced by Graham King, the movie will follow Jackson's rise to fame as well as the controversies throughout his life. Set for release in 2026, early images from the film are already creating major buzz among fans and critics. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News. On Thursday, April 10th, a sightseeing helicopter operated by New York Helicopter Tours crashed into the Hudson River near Lower Manhattan, claiming the lives of all 6 people on board. Authorities say the aircraft, a Bell 206 model, went down shortly after 3 p.m. local time under still unknown circumstances. Emergency crews responded within minutes, but tragically, none of the passengers survived. Among the victims were the pilot and a family of 5 vacationers visiting from Spain, 2 adults and their 3 children. The National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration are now investigating what led to the deadly crash. Weather conditions at the time were reported to be clear, and no distress signal was sent before the helicopter went down. Witnesses described a terrifying scene as the chopper appeared to struggle before plunging into the water. Recovery efforts lasted into the evening as divers worked to retrieve the bodies and secure the wreckage. New York Helicopter Tours has suspended all flights as the investigation continues. In a statement, the company expressed its deepest condolences to the victims' loved ones and pledged full cooperation with authorities. This marks one of the deadliest helicopter crashes in the city in recent years. This has been Noah Norris for GovState News.